Basi kwa desturi za kijeshi, shati bendera ya kikosi kuwa mbele ya gwaride unavyoshuhudia hivi sasa kutoka kwake Kala Ofsa pamoja na parade RSF. Basi Mheshimiwa Rais, kwa amri hiyo wanajeshi hawa baada ya kuandaa gwaride la kufana wanaondoka hivi sasa uwanjani kupata kujiunga na wenzao kuzidi kudumisha ulinzi wa taifa letu la Kenya. Mheshimiwa Rais, nafuata gwaride la vikundi likiongozwa na jeshi letu la nchi kavu chini yake lenye Stephen ya Mboga. General Service Unit. Administration Police wakifuata hivi sasa. Wanaofuata ni askari wa kupambana na wizi wa mifugo Stop Theft Unit. Mheshimiwa Rais kufungia gwaride la vikundi ni Border Patrol Unit wakiwa katika magwanda yao mazito ya kikazi. Linafuata sasa onyesho ya baadhi ya zana za kivita ambazo tunazitumia katika ulinzi wa taifa, na kwa mengi zaidi tutampisha Meja Alex Hinga aweze kuendelea.
Shukrani sana Mheshimiwa Rais, mabibi na mabwana. Baada ya matembezi ya gwaride hilo, yanaanza sasa maonyesho ya zana za vita wanazozitumia wanajeshi kufanikisha operesheni tofauti. Yanayotangulia hivi sasa ni brigedi za majeshi yetu ya tikamu almaarufu the infantry. Wanatangulia hapa na magari aina ya deraya, ukipenda armored personnel carriers. Haya ni magari ambayo yametengenezwa kwa vyuma maalum ili kuzuia risasi, milipuzi au mabomu, na vile vile kuwezesha wanajeshi wetu kufika kwa haraka wanapoenda mitaani, huku wakipigana na bunduki ambazo zimeandikwa bavuni ama paani wa magari haya. Nyuma ya magari haya na magari maalum ya kubebea mizinga inayojulikana kama 81mm mortars, ambayo inawezesha wanajeshi wa infantry kupigana wakitumia mabomu kukabiliana na adui. Azma ya askari wa infantry ni kumshinda adui huku wakitumia mbinu mahususi za luteva au maneva kwa kimombo manuva, na wanajeshi hawa wako na uwezo wa kupigana usiku na mchana, mahali popote, kwa hali zote, na pia kwa hali zote za anga wakitumia vifaa hivi. Wanafuatiwa na vikosi vya operesheni spesheli, the Army Special Operations Battalion, the Army Special Operations Brigade, na pia wako na Special Forces. Wao vile vile wako na magari ya deraya ambayo huwezesha kupigana pande zote mduara wakitumia machine gun ambayo iko kwenye magari haya. Wanayo pia magari spesheli aina ya Spartan, yani deraya ambayo inatumika katika kukabiliana na magaidi, anti-terror operations. Wanajeshi hawa wamepata mafunzo maalum ya kuwezesha ya vizuizi, wao pia wameundia wanajeshi wetu mandaki ya kujikinga dhidi ya mashambulizi ya adui, na pia kuwasaidia wananchi kwa kuwaundia kama mabwawa, kuwachimbia maji, visima, na pia husika kikamilifu katika kuokoa maisha yatokeapo majanga. Wakiwa kwenye vita, wanafanya combat role, kazi ya kijeshi, na wakiwa nyumbani wakati wa utulivu ama peace time, wanafanya wanasema kwa kimongo civil military cooperation, kusaidia katika ujenzi wa taifa na pia kuwasaidia wananchi wetu wanapopata majanga. Katika kuchimbia wanajeshi maji na pia wananchi mali sehemu kavu. Wanafuatwa pale Mheshimiwa Rais na vikosi vya wanauchukuzi the Kenya Army Corps of Transport. Mheshimiwa Rais ndio wanahusika katika kuwasafirisha wanajeshi wetu na hali kadhalika vifaa na mizigo yao wanapoenda vitani, na pia wakati ya mazoezi ya kivita. Wanayo magari ya kusafirisha wanajeshi, wako na magari ya kusafirisha mizigo. Wanaweza pia kusafirisha vifaa vizito kama vile vifaru ama magari ya wahandisi. Kauli mbiu yao ikiwa we move the army, tunasafirisha jeshi. Na mara nyingi hutukumbusha kwamba nothing moves until something moves. Wanafuata hapa sasa Mheshimiwa Rais na vikosi vya wahandisi wa umeme na mitambo, the Kenya Army Corps Electrical and Mechanical Engineers, hawa husaidia kukarabati vifaa vya kijeshi ili kuhakikisha kwamba wakati wote ziko katika hali shwari ya kazi. Na utueleza kwa kauli mbiu yao kwamba technical excellence is their commitment. Wanafuatiwa na watunza rasilimali, the Kenya Army Ordnance Corps. Hawa ndio wapa wanajeshi wetu chakula, risasi, mavazi, vitu ambazo tusipopata kwenye vita tutatizika. Na pia wako na magari muhimu ya kuharibu makombora yaliyotekwa. Wako na electronic ordnance disposal vehicles. Tunaona moja pale imepita ambayo iko na wahandisi spesheli wa kupata na kuvinunua vilipuzi vile, including IEDs. Million ambao husaidia wananchi majanga yanapotokea kama vile kubomoka kwa manyumba, ajali za barabarani, mafuriko, joto na kadhalika. Wako pia na magari spesheli ya kudhibiti hazardous material kama vile kemikali. Wanafuatiwa hivi sasa na kikosi cha Defense Forces Constabulary ambao kukabiliana na majanga ya moto, na tunaona pale wakipita na zimamoto zao. Defense Forces Constabularies, their firefighting equipment, na pia kuna gari spesheli inazotumika wakati wa majanga ili kutoa huduma ya kwanza na pia huduma ya kisaikolojia, kuhakikisha kwamba watu wanapata tu sio kiwiliwili tu, bali pia wanapata tulizo la akili. Mheshimiwa Rais, sio kawaida kuona wanajeshi wetu wa majini Kenya Navy wakitembea, lakini leo tunawapata wanatembea hapa ardhini wakitetea mashua aina ya Zodiac. Pia wako na mashua aina ya Emsha, na pia wako na mashua ya Milpro. Wanajeshi hawa kutumia mashua hizi kuhakikisha kwamba bahari zetu ziko salama. Tunaona pale wapiga mbizi, the deep sea divers, ambao husaidia katika kuokoa maisha wakati tunapata majanga ya baharini. Wanapita sasa vikosi za mbwa wa kivita, the canine regiment, ambayo wako na magari spesheli ya kuwasafirishia mbwa ambao hutumika katika kufichua vilipuzi, silaha na pia risasi walimoficha magaidi, kauli mbiu yao ikiwa agility and precision. Mwisho, kikosi cha polisi wa kijeshi, the Military Police Corps, kitengo cha Provost Protection Unit, ambao hudumisha nidhamu jeshini na vile vile wachunga watu mashuhuri, kauli mbiu yao ikiwa by example shall we lead. Na hapo tunatamatisha.
Mheshimiwa Rais, napisha mwenzangu aweze kuendelea.
Mheshimiwa Rais, mbele ya jukwaa na zinapita pale kulia ni ndege za jeshi letu la wanahema. Kikundi cha kwanza ambacho kimekwisha pita ilikuwa ni cha ndege aina ya Global, ndege zinazotumika kuwapa marubani wetu mafunzo kiwango cha msingi, basic trainer. Hivi sasa zinapita ndege ikiongoza pale katikati, ndege aina ya Y12, kushoto kulia ikisindikizwa na ndege aina ya Skytrack. Ndege hizi ni za uchukuzi, kubeba wanajeshi toka sehemu moja hadi nyingine. Katikati ndege ya Y12, kushoto kulia ndege aina ya Skytrack. Kikundi cha tatu kinaingia hivi sasa kikiongozwa na ndege aina ya Dash 8, kushoto kulia ikisindikizwa na ndege aina ya Spartan. Ndege aina ya Dash 8 hubeba abiria mashuhuri na pia wanajeshi kutoka sehemu moja hadi nyingine. Ndege aina ya Spartan hubeba mizigo mizito na vile vile hubeba wanajeshi wengi na kwa pamoja. Kikundi cha nne kinaingia kwa utaratibu. Kikundi cha ndege aina ya Tucano zikionyesha moshi mweupe, ishara yake kwamba anga la nchi yetu Kenya liko salama. Ni ndege zinazotumiwa kuwapa marubani wetu mafunzo kiwango cha juu, advanced trainer. Ni ndege aina ya Tucano. Hivi sasa, Mheshimiwa Rais, zinafuata ndege zetu za kivita, ndege aina ya F5 desturi yake mwendo wa kasi. Tazama zinavyoingia katika arrowhead formation. Maridadi, tazama mwendo wa kasi. Tafadhali tuwapigie marubani wetu makofi. Ndege hizi za kivita zitafuata moja kwa nyingine, zikituletea mizunguko ya kulia, ya kushoto. Tutaona wakiweza kupaa juu hata zaidi, kuonyesha jinsi ndege hizi hukabiliana na adui kule angani na pia ardhini. Marubani wetu wakiwa wamehitimu kiwango cha juu zaidi, hivyo wana ujuzi usiokithiri angani. Ni ndege zetu aina ya F5. Inakuja ndege ya kwanza. Tazama, inakuja kisha paa juu. Ni katika vertical roll. Tumpe makofi. Bwana wetu shangilie. Ndege ya pili vile inaingia mwendo wa kasi. Tazama atafanya paa juu zaidi. Kisha anarudi alipotoka. Ndege ya tatu vile paa juu, mizunguko ya kushoto. Ndege ya nne inapaa juu zaidi na kurudi alipotoka. Tuzidi kushangilia marubani wetu. Inaingia ndege ya tano. Tazama anavyopinda kulia kushoto, mwendo ukiwa kwa kasi. Zinakuja ndege hizi kutufungia onyesho lao kwa pamoja, kisha kila moja kuelekea njia yake. Kwa heshima tuwape makofi marubani wetu. Kinafuata ni kikundi cha ndege aina ya Tucano kwa mara ya pili. Tofauti na mara ya kwanza, zinaingia kwa mwendo wa kasi, zikileta mizunguko. Tazama wanavyofanya, kila moja njia yake, wakizidi kuonyesha moshi mweupe aliyetoka mahali alipotoka. Kumbuka kwamba anapopinda rubani pia yuko ile position. Inafuata hivi sasa ni helikopta aina MI-171E, ikizindikizwa kushoto kulia na ndege za mashambulizi aina ya Cobra. Ndege aina ya MI husafirisha abiria mashuhuri na vile wanajeshi kutoka sehemu moja hadi nyingine. Nazo helikopta aina za Cobra ni helikopta za mashambulizi. Inafuata hivi sasa ni helikopta aina ya Huey, ikisindikizwa kulia na helikopta za mashambulizi aina ya MD-530 kutoka jeshi letu la nchi kavu. Katikati helikopta hii, kushoto kulia MD-530. Mheshimiwa Rais, kutufungia tamasha la ndege siku ya leo ni helikopta aina ya Puma. Kushoto kulia helikopta za mashambulizi aina ya Fennec. Inalipeperusha bango linalosema God bless Kenya, Mungu ibariki Kenya. Makofi kwa marubani.
Basi Mheshimiwa Rais, na huo ndio mwisho wa tamasha zetu za kijeshi kwa pamoja. Ningependa kuwashukuru waliofanikisha makala haya, Flagstaff wetu Meja Ismail Olwal, Meja Peter Msumba Etienne, Defense Forces Sergeant Major Warrant Officer 1 Elijah Aspro Koranga, Kenya Army Sergeant Major Warrant Officer 1 Fanuel Mahebo, Kenya Air Force Sergeant Major Warrant Officer 1 Dennis Namunyu Talengo, na bila kumsahau Kenya Navy Sergeant Major Warrant Officer 1 Bwana Omar Haji, wote wakiwa ni OGW, bila kuwasahau wenzangu Major Alex Hinga, Senior Sergeant Ann Kiarie, Koplo Emmanuel Jabiri Banzi, jina langu ni Sergeant Misango Mbae, nikiwarejesha moja kwa moja hadi kwake Bwana Peter Wanjohi aweze kuendelea na ratiba ya siku.
Asanteni sana wenzangu. Naomba sote tutulie kwa maombi. Tutaongozwa kwa maombi ya kimila na mzee Manyasi Situma kutoka kaunti ya Bungoma.
Ewe papa kakaba wakabali kurunelio wakabumbuye bumbira mubumbu alama ekeke kamaya ewe sokhirwatawe papa khobisa bino khusabiro yewe lukos odi president Uhuru Kenyatta nende balondi bewe bosi papa bolane khulinda sibala sha Kenya mu mulembe khusabira sibala shepwe sha Kenya ku mulembe neliyambana lilyangali khubisa bino bona khuli khucha mu burobozi wamwene khurobore mala fabana lijo khureko kumukhono mala khube mune ku mulembe musibala shepwe sha Kenya bisa bino khuli nende oyo welukosulu mukeni wefwe president wa Sierra Leone ne bamenya ba Sierra Leone khubasabira bulamu bwebwe mindali ne mindali bisa bino papa bona ewe wamwene wabonenga nekhufwana enyanga yino eliye khukya mala papa khachuka sifu kirundi mala nekhwilikho khwirana bulemu bwami bwefwe tawe chilomani chakhulomano chibe chichomba khasibala shepwe sha Kenya neliyambana lilyangali ewe noli papa mwalala mwabamuambane khuambane khuryo mala papa khubebe njundala lukendo lulala kamakanine kamakekhe khusabane khweikina khururye muno papa khakabo kabali kurune liloba.
Atatuongoza sasa Sheikh Yusuf Maki, kiongozi wa masuala ya kidini SUPKEM Nairobi.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kwa jina la Mwenyezi Mungu mwingi wa rehema mwenye kurehemu. Baada ya kukushukuru ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, mfalme wa watu, muabudi wa watu, tunakuomba kwa utukufu na kwa sifa zako zote uibariki taifa letu la Kenya na pia uzidi kutulinda kila wakati. Tunaomba utupe mashikamano, utupe umoja na heshima. Tunaomba ewe Mwenyezi Mungu ujalie amani na usalama idumu katika kila pembe ya jamhuri yetu, na haswa tunapoelekea katika uchaguzi mkuu. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, tunaomba umjalie rais wetu Uhuru Kenyatta afya njema pamoja na familia yake. Umzidishie busara na pia umzidishie hikma. Tunaombea viongozi wetu wote na uwape uthabiti wa kututumikia nchi yetu. Ewe Mola wetu, tunakushukuru kwa ufanisi wa hafla hii ya leo, na tunakuomba utusamehe mapungufu yetu ya kibinadamu. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad nabiyil ummi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Amin.
Atakayetufungia ni Askofu Mkuu Samson Mudhuri wa kanisa la AIPCA.
Let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, the creator of heaven and earth, we thank you for the blessings of this nation. We thank you, Father, for the peace and tranquility we continue to enjoy in our country and for loving our nation, Kenya. Today, we pray for our leaders across the Republic of Kenya, particularly His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, and his family for steering our nation to prosperity. We also remember the other leaders, from the state officials to the officials of the county governments. May you, Lord, bless them all. We pray for your wisdom and will to guide them in all they do. Strengthen each leader with a resolve to do what is best for our country. Lord, as we go into this year's general elections, may peace that comes from thee be upon this nation before and after the elections. Lord, remember the people of this country, particularly the areas that have received very little rainfall. Lord Jehovah, bless us because of your mercy. Today, Lord, we celebrate our 59th anniversary of our independence with thanksgivings. Thank you, Messiah, for sustaining our nation. God, we pray that you continue guiding us even into great heights. We pray, believing and trusting in God, you will protect us, guide us, and bless all. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. May we say amen.
Asante Askofu. Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta, Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya na Amiri Jeshi Mkuu wa Majeshi ya Ulinzi. Mheshimiwa Julius Maada Bio, Rais wa Jamhuri ya Sierra Leone. Wananchi wa Jamhuri tuipendayo ya Kenya, mabibi na mabwana. Mheshimiwa Rais, kwa niaba ya kamati ya andalizi ya sherehe za kitaifa, naomba ruhusa yako tuweze kuandalia burudani fupi. Nitawaalika wenzangu Willy M. Tuva wa Radio Citizen na dada Masawe Japani wa Radio Jambo watuongoze kwenye ratiba hii. Karibuni.
Asante sana Bwana Wanjoi kwa kutupatia fursa hii. Niwakaribisheni Wakenya wenzangu kwa sherehe hii ya 59 ya sikukuu ya Jamhuri, sikukuu maalum ya Madaraka. Niite mzazi Willy M. Tuva, naongoza kipindi cha mambo mseto kwenye Radio Citizen na mseto East Africa katika Citizen TV. Siko peke yangu, niko na mwenzangu anaitwa
Masawe Japani kutoka Radio Jambo. Nafurahi sana kwamba tumeweza kujumuika pamoja siku ya leo kusherekea Madaraka Day, na tunasema maudhui ya mwaka huu ni
pamoja tusonge mbele. Na wanaosonga mbele sasa hivi, Mheshimiwa Rais, ni wanafunzi 500 kutoka katika shule ya msingi. Naweza nikasema kwamba ni takriban shule 11 za msingi za hapa Nairobi. Na unachofaa kufahamu Mheshimiwa Rais ni kwamba wanafunzi hawa wako katika grade ya 4 na ya 5 ya mtaala mpya wa CBC. Tuwakaribisheni basi kwa makofi wakati ambapo wanafunzi hawa wanaingia uwanjani. Karibuni watoto, mtupatie burudani.
La Baba na la Mwana Roho Mtakatifu, amina. Kwa jina la Baba na la Mwana Roho Mtakatifu, amina. Ewe Kenya nchi yangu, ewe Kenya baba yangu, ewe Kenya mama yangu, sitakuacha milele.
Kenya nchi yetu yasonga mbele, mbele na Mungu mwingi na kuatandio. Tangu tupate bado Jamhuri yetu yasimama imara na kutingizika.
Kenya ni nchi yenye usalama,
ni ramani ya nchi yetu. Tuwapigie makofi tafadhali.
Now you see something, now you don't see nothing. Why you wondering, why you feeling cornered? You know what goes around comes around, my brother. What is going up must come down, my sister. Together we will stand divided, we shall fall. Yes. My land, my treasure, my people and my culture. Very important. Oh, hangla. Are you feeling it? Are you feeling the idea? Tumja kanyako. Ori ori umogiti kona kona. We go dance together, do the train, we go round. Ori ori umogiti kona kona. Kipanda njugu mavuno ni karanga, ulea kuchuki malipo matanga, palipo na huba damu kurambaramba. Wakati umefika siku za songa songa, tujirushe rushe na kusakata rumba. Ero era ero tumja berkanyako, ori ori umogiti kona kona. We go dance together, do the train, we go round. Ori ori umogiti kona kona. Ero era ero tumja berkanyako, ori ori umogiti kona kona. We go dance together, do the train, we go round. Ori ori umogiti kona kona. Yeah.
Neno ni madaraka, shughuli iliyotuleta hapa kwa pamoja. Makofi kwa watoto wetu, makofi.
Kenya, ikela mani, iriwo jo Kenya, madaraka wa iego, Kenya wa jonia, uhuru total, uhuru ini rai, Kenyatta ini kiongozi mchweo. Kenya, inaendeleza na wazalendo, Kenya, inaendeleza na wazalendo. Rais Uhuru Kenyatta, Kenyatta serikali tiyo kod maendeleo wan gojo Kenya, SGR donjo Kisumu dala, KPA to miyaneno yidhi kod meli Kisumo. Bypass wan go Kachok, flyover wan go Kondele, moro bende wan go Bandani, barabara safi sitadek wan Nairobi Mwore. Kenya, Igozo Uhuru Kenyatta, Yesu wetu mpendwa. Tangu uongozi wako tumeona mazao, viwanda zinajengwa, chakula kwa taifa, nyumba na makao kwa bei nafuu, stima tunapata. Ndio maana sisi tuomba Mungu akulinde, Nyasaye akulinde, Ngai akulinde, pamoja kalaga akulinde.
Neno ni peace, ambayo ni amani, kitu ambacho kwa kweli Kenya tunajivunia kwa sana. Makofi tafadhali.
Tushangilie Kenya, taifa
hivyo wanafunzi wetu basi, asanteni sana. Na sasa basi, Mheshimiwa Rais, wanaokuja uwanjani ni wanamuziki wa nyimbo za kitamaduni wakiwakilisha tamaduni mbalimbali za Jamhuri yetu tukufu ya Kenya, wakiwa pia wanashirikiana na wasanii wa muziki wa kizazi kipya, ambapo leo Mheshimiwa Rais utaweza kushuhudia msanii mwenye umri mdogo sana, lakini kipaji chake kikubwa kilimpatia umaarufu mkubwa sana. Namzungumzia Trio Mio, na mbali na Trio Mio utaweza kushuhudia msanii kama vile Iyani, na mbali na msanii Iyani pia kuna msanii ambaye ametamba sana na wimbo wake ambao ni ya lugha ya Kikamba, lakini umedhihirisha kwamba Wakenya wote tunapendana bila kujali ukabila, ambaye ametamba na wimbo Kungulu Kwangala. Sasa wanapojiandaa kusongea, ningependa sote tuelekeze macho yetu katika runinga ambazo zipo karibu nasi kwa ajili ya makala ya Je, Wajua?
Je, wajua? Wajua kuwa tangu tujinyakulia uhuru hadi mwaka wa 2013 Kenya ilikuwa na kilomita 13,000 za barabara za lami pekee. Na wajua kuwa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta alipochukua hatamu za uongozi mwaka 2013 alitoa ahadi ya kujenga kilomita 10,000 za barabara za lami ili kuinua uchumi wa nchi na maisha ya Wakenya. Bila shaka, ahadi hii ya Rais Kenyatta imeafikiwa, kwani katika kipindi cha miaka 9 tu, serikali ya Rais Kenyatta imejenga kilomita 10,400 za barabara za lami. Hii inamaanisha kuwa Kenya sasa ina jumla ya kilomita 23,400 za barabara za lami, ongezeko la asilimia 80. Katika miaka 9 iliyopita, shirika la Kenya limejenga kilomita 3,300 za barabara zinazojulikana kama highways. Kwenye miji, shirika la Kura limejenga kilomita 950 za barabara zijulikanazo kama urban roads. Na kule vijijini, shirika la Kera nalo limejenga kilomita 300 za rural. Cha kutia moyo ni kwamba barabara zingine kilomita 600 zinaendelea kujengwa na mashirika haya matatu kote nchini kutokana na uwekezaji wa serikali ya Rais Kenyatta. Ni dhahiri kuwa katika kila pembe ya taifa hili, Wakenya wanajivunia barabara za lami. Ni walio mijini au vijijini, na hii ni ahadi ya Rais Uhuru Kenyatta. Sasa wajua.
Haya, sasa wanamuziki, karibuni mtupatie burudani.
Etwani yabugire, etwani yabugire, etwani yabugire, etwani yabugire, etwani yenze yaito, yabugire ge kurandu wenda nyamo no more, yabugire ge kurandu burabyuye no more, yabugire ge kurandu abamonu buya benze yaito, kwanye yaito ya Kenya ngaibwe tanji ko yerna baba.
Madaraka Day. Wawe ndo watani wa Kenya, tusonga mbele, nasonga mbele pamoja. Sisi wa Kenya nasonga mbele kwa amani na upendo. Umoja ni nguzo yetu. Kenya ni yangu, Kenya ni yetu.
Kenya
pamoja tutaijenga Kenya yetu
kwa amani na upendo, tuendeleze utu wetu. Haya yote tukizingatia, baraka tele tutapokea.
Vijana, wazee, kina mama, tunaweza tukiungana. Furaha, usawa na usawi, Mungu Baba tatujalia. So full of love, njooni wazalendo sote tuimbe. So full of love, njooni wazalendo sote tuimbe. Pamoja tutafika kilele. Na Kenya tutaishi milele. Pamoja tutafika kilele. Na Kenya tutaishi milele. Tunapo tutaungana tena, ndugu pia na usawa tena, uzalendo kuendeleza tena, na kwa pamoja tutasimama tena, pamoja tutafika kilele. Ipeperushwe juu sana, bendera yetu Kenya ipeperushwe juu sana. Sisi wa Kenya Champions League, kata kibudi bendera si pepe kumwaka, nasikia ripoti magari zinapita nyumba. Moja ni nguvu si uishiki harambee, mama koti mapaja ndo upate mkuu kaka. Mkenya halisi, nasikia ifiche inaonekana kwa rahisi. Mboka inapigwa vile inafando vile inaishi, tutamu kuona vijana wajenga nchi. Juu sana, bendera yetu Kenya ipeperushwe juu sana. Sisi wa Kenya pili, na ndo maana tulipiga shangwe na nderemo, wazalendo tukasare vako za beberu. We are freedom fighter, niko free filanga, cheki around vile wa Kenya tumejipanga. Tunapendana kama ndugu, tunajendana, kushikana ndio mambo tunaduka wangwambe. Peperushwe juu sana, bendera yetu Kenya ipeperushwe juu sana. Sisi wa Kenya maziwa ya Nyayo, Rais Kibaki akatuletea masomo ya
Tuwapongeze kwa makofi, tuwapongeze kwa makofi wasanii wetu kwa hizo nyimbo na tamaduni zetu za hapa Kenya. Asante sana, asante sana. Na kwa onyesho hilo, Mheshimiwa Rais, ndipo tunapofika tamati ya burudani la siku ya leo ya Madaraka. Shukrani za dhati Mheshimiwa Rais kwa wasanii wote na pia kwa kamati ya andalizi na Wanakenya wote. Tuwashangilie wasanii wetu, ukweli na usemwe. Asante sana. With the gracious permission of Your Excellency, sir, I will most humbly invite you to preside over the state investiture. Welcome, Your Excellency. Karibu will do it from here, Your Excellency. Thank you.
Your Excellency, in recognition of distinguished and outstanding services rendered to the nation in various capacities and responsibilities, I hereby present to you the following persons for various awards. Moran of the Order of the Golden Heart, MGH, Mr. Paul Derito Ndongo.
Yes, let us climb the stairs. All the awardees, kindly, we climb the stairs. Ndongo Paul Derito is the current prior and chairman of the board of the 26,000-member St. John's Ambulance, Kenya. He has been a volunteer with St. John's Ambulance for over 44 years. In the year 2003, he chaired the Ndongo Land Commission, whose recommendations have been critical in shaping land laws in Kenya, and his name it continues to be synonymous with land laws advancements. He is awarded Moran of the Order of the Golden Heart, MGH, for his outstanding service rendered to the nation.
Mr. Nzioka Waita.
Mr. Nzioka Waita served as the Chief of Staff and Head of President's Delivery Unit, State House. As the head of delivery, he created a strong delivery office that gave the President line of sight to his administration's key development projects and programs. He is awarded the Moran of the Order of the Golden Heart, MGH, for outstanding service rendered to the nation.
Elder of the Order of the Burning Spear, EBS, Brigadier Joseph Maina Murashia.
Brigadier Murashia is the team leader for Project 58, uwanja tuko hapa siku ya leo. Under his leadership, Project 58 has been executed within strict timelines that so phase 1 of the project being completed within 16 months. He has also supervised the construction and commissioning of Ulinzi Sports Complex, Langata, within 16 months. He is awarded Elder of the Order of the Burning Spear, ABS, for his outstanding leadership, command, and management and devotion to duty.
Brigadier Caroline Mwende Mutesia.
Brigadier Mutesia is the project manager for the Joint National Mapping Project. She has successfully overseen the implementation of 10 major projects across various government ministries and departments. Through these projects, the government has saved resources, and for the first time in the history of Kenya, strategic resource databases have been secured by government. She is awarded Elder of the Order of the Burning Spear, ABS. Congratulations, Brigadier. Congratulations, Brigadier, once more, asante.
Moran of the Order of the Burning Spear, MBS, Professor David Sang Kiprop.
Professor Kiprop has been the program manager, Guinea Worm Eradication Program. A brilliant and disciplined scientist, he has been instrumental in the elimination of the epidemic highland malaria in Kenya. He is awarded the Moran of the Order of the Burning Spear, MBS, for outstanding service rendered to the nation.
Dr. Weston Wakasiaka Kisa.
Dr. Wakasiaka is a renowned fistula surgeon and trainer of fistula care for health workers. He has led in fistula policy development and is also an author and writer of Fistula Diaries Kenya. He pioneered and established treatment of fistula, a disease that not only affects the health of our women and daughters, but also the social well-being. He is awarded the Moran of the Order of the Burning Spear, MBS, for outstanding service.
Mr. Polycarp Otieno Onyango.
Onyango is Senior Director, Presidential Delivery Unit in the Coast Region. He unlocked the challenges that were facing Kenya Ports Authority, a job that took him 2 months of posting in the coast. Onyango is awarded the Order of Moran of the Burning Spear, MBS, for outstanding service.
Order of the Grand Warrior of Kenya, OGW, Major Adman Hussein Weshanga.
Major Washenga is the officer in charge of maintenance, repairs, and overhaul at Kenya Shipyards Limited at the Mombasa and Kisumu shipyards. Hiki ni kituo cha kutengeneza meli. He also coordinates support for Kenya Shipyards Limited, the Kenya Railways locomotives, and all marine assets. He has overseen the construction of MV Uhuru 2 at Kisumu and the refit of Kenya Navy ship Shupavu at Mombasa shipyard. He is awarded Order of the Grand Warrior of Kenya, ODW. Congratulations, congratulations.
Miss Alice Kwamboka Nyariki.
Nyariki Alice Kwamboka is Senior Deputy Director of Pensions at the National Treasury. She spearheaded the development of policy reforms for public sector retirement benefit schemes. Her efforts have ensured that our senior citizens no longer have to wait and spend intolerant time waiting for their pension. She is awarded the Order of the Golden Warrior of Kenya for service to the nation. Congratulations.
Ms. Jane Duta Mwangi.
Duta Irene Mwangi has served diligently on COVID-19 Education Committee and the CBC Task Force. She has been an advocate and partner in the quest for accessible and quality education. She is awarded OGW, Order of the Grand Warrior of Kenya for dedicated service to the nation.
Your Excellency, this brings us to the end of state investitures today. I thank you, Your Excellency, sir.
Asante sana. Your Excellency Julius Maada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, and the First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Dr. Kiwimi Adesina, President of the African Development Bank, and indeed a true and great friend of Kenya, Honorable Speakers, Your Ladyship, the Chief Justice on Martha Koome, all national leaders and leaders from across our entire spectrum, members of the diplomatic corps, fellow Kenyans, ladies and gentlemen, hamjambo. Hamjambo tena. Asanteni sana. Siku ya leo tumepatiwa heshima kubwa sana kwa kupata mgeni wa nchi ya Sierra Leone, rais wa Sierra Leone ambaye ametutembelea kuwa mgeni wetu wa heshima katika shughuli hii ya kusherekea Madaraka Day. Na mbele ya niseme lolote lingine, ningependa kuchukua nafasi hii kumkaribisha aweze kuwasalimia Wakenya na kutoa salamu zake na pongezi zake kwa Wakenya wote. Your Excellency, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to have a few words with the Kenyans who are looking forward and are very excited about you coming to visit us. Karibu sana. Welcome.
Shukrani sana, Your Excellency. Shukrani sana. Your Excellency, the Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya, the Honorable William Ruto, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency, Mrs. Margaret Kenyatta, the First Lady of the Republic of Kenya, the First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Madam Fatima Maada Bio, members of government, and honorable cabinet secretaries present here today, members of the National Assembly and Senate present, members of the diplomatic and consular corps, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, outstanding Kenyans who have made this visit both remarkable and memorable. Habari zenu Kenya. Habari za majana. I'm truly honored, ladies and gentlemen, and ever grateful to President Kenyatta and to you, the Kenyan people, for the generous invitation to join Kenyans in celebrating Madaraka Day on these hallowed ground, Uhuru Gardens. Asante sana, Kenya. Congratulations. It is a momentous day, as President Kenya and others have said. It is the day on which Kenyans asserted that through the dignity of independence and self-governance, they would work hard together to create a future of which generations unborn will be proud. In the spirit of nation building and Harambee, the new nation reflected the blood, the tears, and the sweat that had gone into that unrelenting national effort from ordinary citizens and their leaders. As Mzee Jomo Kenyatta of blessed memory reminded Kenyans, our children, and I quote, our children will learn about the heroes of the past, but our task is to make ourselves the architects of the future, end of quote. On this 59th Madaraka, I can confidently say that Kenyans have embraced that task and acquitted themselves very well. Congratulations, Kenya. Our path since independence for our nascent African nations of Kenya and Sierra Leone may have been different. In each of our ways, it has been arduous, maybe not what our forefathers imagined, and probably best left untold. But we can both celebrate in Kenya and in Sierra Leone that we have been through the crucibles. We have faced and mastered our fears and doubts. We have triumphed over adversity, and we have worked hard to build just, inclusive, peaceful nations on both sides of the great continent. But more importantly, the fraternal bonds between our two nations keep getting stronger. On Sunday, I joined the Kenya Defense Forces to celebrate the heroism of 4 Kenyans and the sacrifices of thousands of Kenyan soldiers who fought to restore peace and stability in Sierra Leone. If today we are the 4th most peaceful democracy in Africa, it is partly because of the sacrifice of Kenyans. Thank you, Kenya. When Ebola struck, Kenyan nurses and doctors were at hand to see us through that difficult moment. When we faced challenges for computing equipment for our first ever digital population census, President Kenyatta extended a hand of typical Kenyan generosity. And there is so much more to say. Our two nations have stood together in war, in peace, and in solidarity. We have pursued a collective agenda and continue to deepen cooperation at the bilateral and the multilateral levels. President Kenyatta's great work in this country, from electricity, ports, roads, railways, housing, to healthcare, education, food, security, and growing the Kenyan economy through trade and investment, has showed us in Sierra Leone what is possible. We are therefore also here to strengthen our ties with Kenya in areas of international cooperation, peace and security, wildlife and tourism, ICT and education, and trade and investment. In this spirit of interdependence, with a view to the mutual benefit of our two nations, let me close by reminding us of 2 proverbs, one Kikuyu from Kenya and one Mende from Sierra Leone. The first one is from Kenya. One log does not make a bridge. This reminds us that for safety and strength, and for reassurance that we will continue to traverse difficulties together, we must continue to work together and make our bonds even stronger. The second is from Sierra Leone. One tree does not make a forest. Guya Eula. That reminds us that only through interdependence and unity of purpose can we truly grow stronger and be more formidable as nations. On this 59th Madaraka, let me once say, Hongare sana, asante sana, and God bless the people and Republic of Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lord. Thank you. Thank you. Asante sana. Fellow Kenyans, today I'm delighted to return to these grounds of Uhuru Gardens to commemorate the 59th Madaraka Day, and indeed overjoyed because after 58 years of self-rule, this is the first time we are celebrating Madaraka Day at these hallowed grounds. Madaraka Day is significant in our history because it is on this day in June 1963 that our founding fathers of our nation replaced the outgoing colonial government and formed the first indigenous government of Kenya. And with this act, we achieved self-rule, or Madaraka, with Mzee Jomo Kenyatta as our first Prime Minister. However, self-rule was not the same thing as independence. With Madaraka, we had merely surmounted the first hurdle in our liberation struggle. It was 6 months after the first Madaraka Day that we secured our full independence on the 12th of December 1963. On that day, the nation was summoned to these grounds of Uhuru Gardens, and an elated people listened with tears in their eyes as for the first time, our national anthem was played, and then we cheered in boundless joy as our flag was hoisted and the flag of the British was lowered. This act of raising our national flag was not just an exercise in symbolism or a sheer sentimental exploit. It was a sign that we had achieved sovereignty as a nation, but fundamentally, it was a call to all of us to civic duty and responsibility to our people and nation. Once hoisted, our founding fathers reminded us that the flag was not just a cloth painted in designs of 4 colors. Instead, it was a painting of the national wounds and scars that we bear from our liberation struggle, coated with an illumination of our shared aspiration for our future. It was and still remains a picture of the blood we shed to regain what we had lost. It is a reflection of the dignity of our heritage and the pride that we restored. And because the ultimate act of every liberator is to lay down their weapon, the shield and the spear on our national flag is a symbol of our victory, but it is also a notice of readiness should our heritage of splendor be threatened. According to our founding fathers, therefore, our flag is not just a sentimental piece of fabric decorated in ink. We must always remember that each time it flies, it is blown by the last breath of our liberators as they made their final bow to liberate our country, Kenya. And why did our independence heroes choose these gardens as a place to midwife our young nation? What was the significance of these grounds in the history of our liberation struggle? And what did they want remembered by generations to come? On these very grounds sat the largest concentration camp in colonial Africa, holding up to 10,000 freedom fighters at any one given time. Many of our compatriots were tortured and maimed for life in that camp, and many more unknown heroes died in this field. The horrors of this camp and what inspired our founding fathers was that the tree of freedom must be watered by the blood of our patriots. And that is why on Jamhuri Day 1964, we planted a Mugumo tree as a solemn and symbolic reminder of this eternal truth. Although the colonizers killed the messengers in the camp, they could not kill the message. The liberation fever spread across our nation, and the colonizers had no option but to give in. And why do I call Uhuru Gardens hallowed? It is because our founding fathers wanted us to celebrate this ground as a camp of martyrs and the birthplace of a nation, a place of remembrance, healing, and renewal. Each time we gather at this birthplace of our great nation, we must remember that being free is the easy part, but staying free is the difficult part. And although we are now fully free, we cannot continue to claim freedom casually. Instead, we must begin to practice it and jealously guard it against all threats, both foreign and domestic. The practice of freedom comes with a price. If our heroes paid the price to liberate our nation, we must similarly pay the price of nurturing our freedom. But fundamentally, we must remember that the price today is not the price tomorrow. The price of liberating the nation is not the same price of growing the nation. To keep and nurture our freedom, we have to pay a higher price. And part of this price is to be trustworthy stewards of what our founding fathers passed down to us. So my joy today is that we have been able to restore the sanctity and historical significance of Uhuru Gardens. Following many years of neglect, this historic site had become a den of thieves, and in fact it is on record that part of the 68 acres on which these grounds sit had fallen into the hands of unscrupulous individuals. We have reclaimed it and grabbed the site back and restored its dignity and purity. Yesterday I had the distinct honor of inaugurating these grounds as a monument and a museum of remembrance and a place of unedited history. And we have done this because a progressive nation does not hide its history. It confronts it and endures to correct it so as to change the future. Each time we celebrate our liberation struggle, tradition demands that we ponder a series of questions. Fundamentally, we must ask how. How have we built on what was handed down to us? What account can we give of ourselves as the successors of the cause of our liberators? And can we honestly say that we have been faithful stewards worthy of their sacrifice? On the 9th of April 2013, I assumed office as the nation's 4th president. Today, 9 years and 2 months later to the day, in discharge of the mandate you bestowed upon me, my administration has built on the gains secured by the previous 3 administrations and strengthened our social fabric, making Kenya safer and healthier, fairer and just, a nation where justice is truly our shield and defender, reinforced our educational and technical excellence, integrated devolution as a way of life, and successfully led the nation through the worst global health crisis in a century, while also expanding economic opportunities for Kenyans. As Kenyans, we often dwell on what and how without asking ourselves why. And so I answer, why have we invested so heavily in infrastructure? Why has my administration extensively equipped and retooled our defense and security agencies and expanded the benefits enjoyed by the staff therein? Why has the government driven digitization in the delivery of public services while also fostering grassroots location and access at the same time? Why has my tenure in office seen so much emphasis on transformative programs, reforms in healthcare, education, agriculture, energy, titling of land, housing and social protection, affirmative action, commerce and industry, and the ease of doing business? We have done all of this because they are interrelated aspects of our national life that are tied together with a singular golden thread, areas of challenge that can become the engines that drive Kenya into a more just and prosperous future. Fellow Kenyans, national security and defense has been a priority area since 2013. Because we cannot deliver on our national anthem's promise of plenty within our borders if these borders were porous and insecure. I therefore made security a top priority because I know that without a secure environment, no life can flourish and no enterprise can thrive. With the mandate that was given to me, we silenced the wave of terror attacks that had a stranglehold on our nation. And we achieved this by retooling our security organs and making them more capable to address the dynamic contemporary security challenges that Kenya faces. To all our security officers, because of your commitment to defend our nation and to squarely face new dangers, every citizen is able to participate in the social economic development of our nation. You have kept us free, you have preserved our way of life, and allowed us to enjoy the present as well as protect tomorrow, and we thank you for that service. In realizing equitable development through devolution, it was my distinct honor to be the president who received, fostered, and gave impetus to the devolved system of governance. Today, the results of our proactive and enthusiastic support are markedly visible, from Makueni to Mandera, from Busia to Bungoma, from Mombasa to Meru, from Lamu to Laikipia, and from Turkana to Tharaka Nithi. We, with the mandate that you gave, have institutionalized devolution and forever changed the face of Kenya, buoyed by the 2.4 trillion Kenya shillings that we have transferred from the national government to the counties from 2013 to date. On the regional front, Kenya led the push to admit the Democratic Republic of Congo into the East African community. With this singular move, the East African Common Market grew by 90 million people, yielding a now expanded market of 300 million citizens and a consequent enhanced opportunities for our Kenyan enterprises. To exemplify this, I mentioned just one, Equity Bank, which is already breaking ground in DRC and is already the second largest bank in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. On the global stage, we remain a leader in the cooperative multilateral order, as evidenced by our membership of the United Nations Security Council that has provided us a voice on international peace and security matters that threaten our humanity. This position has cemented our international stature and enhanced opportunities for Kenyans in the diaspora and within the international civil service. In return, diaspora remittances have increased tenfold in the last decade, and they now stand at an all-time high of over Kenya shillings 400 billion in 2021, surpassing traditional exports and making Kenyan human capital our greatest export. With the same mandate, you challenge us to enhance the global competitiveness of our human resource. We did this because every epoch of our nation's history has placed a unique set of demands on the skills and competencies required of our people, which in turn has required us to reform and to recalibrate the content and architecture of our education system. At independence, our founding fathers embarked on a mission of course correction to transition from a colonial education system that prepared learners for servitude to one that gave them the tools to lead a newly independent nation. In 1985, we made yet another monumental shift by transitioning from the 7423 system into the 844 system. But with time, fellow Kenyans, the 844 curriculum became inconsistent with the aspirations of our growing nation, particularly because of its overloaded curriculum and its focus on rote learning and the passing of exams as the ultimate goal of the system. As we began re-engineering it, we had to return to the foundational philosophy of education, and that is, citizens never fail. It is systems that fail them. And if the systems are inconsistent with the aspirations of the people, then the systems must be changed. The challenge of the day calls us to imagine a system that creates responsible citizens as opposed to subjects, a system that celebrates creative potential of all our children as opposed to one that leaves them with labels of failure if they do not pass exams. A system that brings about freedom to be creative and innovative as individuals. This is the promise of the competency-based curriculum, and that is why in December of 2022, the pioneer CBC class, now in 6th grade, will transition to junior secondary. And we believe, and given the manifest success achieved in such a short period of time, there is no turning back with respect to competency-based curriculum. With the same mandate, we have also secured a 100% transition from primary to secondary education, ensuring that no Kenyan child is left behind. We have also achieved Africa's first one-to-one child-to-book ratio and restored the integrity of our national exams. In regard to higher education, we live in a time when knowledge is placing other resources as the main driver of economic growth, and thus education has increasingly become the foundation of a greater individual prosperity. Our universities continue to incubate innovations and to prepare the next generation of leaders who are technically proficient and knowledgeable. Talents continue to be nurtured, and a workforce that is globally competitive is, with each passing year, transitioning from our institutions of higher learning into prominent positions locally and abroad. To ensure that even those that are not admitted to universities get an equal chance, we have transformed our technical and vocational education training. Where they stood only 52 institutions in 2013, today Kenya is home of 238 institutes, representing a 435% growth. With this transformation, every Kenyan child has a chance to make it. So, fellow Kenyans, in our effort to foster inclusivity as well as gender parity, the one thing that I am truly proud of is how we have built women leadership and expanded their fields of participation in governance. For a long time, women affairs were relegated to the Department of Social Services, where they were grouped with children. In fact, the first woman to be appointed as a permanent secretary happened 24 years after independence. Margaret Githinji was appointed the permanent secretary for Commerce and Industry on Madaraka Day of 1987. And thereafter, the first woman to become a cabinet minister, the Honorable Nyiva Mwendwa, occurred 32 years after independence in 1995. Today, and thanks to the 2010 Constitution and my commitment to equality and inclusivity, I have had the pleasure of working with 11 women in my cabinet at different times and in different capacities. All of them have occupied high-profile portfolios, and in fact, all the cabinet secretaries for foreign affairs for the last 9 years of my term have been women, and we have seen how they have placed our country globally. Of equal note is that my administration has also fast-tracked the promotion of women in leadership in our security sector. I appointed Fatuma Ahmed as the first woman Major General of our Defense Forces in 2018. Similarly, the first holder of the constitutional office of Auditor General of our Republic was appointed under my administration, Mrs. Nancy Gadongo, and she was appointed in 2021 and continues to serve the Republic in that capacity. And of course, we have our three arms of government, one of which is now headed by a woman. After 58 years of our independence, in May of 2021, I had the profound honor of being the first President of the Republic to commence an address with a salutation, Madam Chief Justice, when the Honorable Lady Justice Martha Koome assumed office as the first woman Chief Justice. We are also proud of the fact that Kenya's judiciary boasts a female Deputy Chief Justice, a female Chief Registrar, and many female principal judges and presiding judges across our superior courts. Going further, in August of this year, if it is the wish of the Kenyan electorate, we have a chance of electing a woman and shattering the glass ceiling by assuming the second highest office in the Republic of Kenya. So, ladies and gentlemen, if our women were part of the liberation struggle, advancing their cause intentionally is a duty that belongs to all of us. We owe it to them, we owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to our country. And I am indeed proud to have been part of this push for women leadership in our republic. Fellow Kenyans, ladies and gentlemen, now I will give a further account of how my administration has multiplied the fruits of our liberation. And I will give this account using 4 legacy frames that have guided our execution of the mandate bestowed on us over the last 9 years. These are what I have been calling the big push investments, economic acceleration, restoration of dignity, as well as political stabilization. I begin with the first legacy frame of the big push investments, and I want to start this frame because the question many have begged is why the heavy investments in infrastructure. I have been asked severally why we have built the dams, expanded ports, built new ones, increased our road network, revived dead railways as we have built new ones. And our logic here has been very simple. It has nothing to do with what we have built, but everything to do with why we did it. The naysayers have said that we should not invest so heavily in infrastructure because people do not eat roads They do not eat bridges. I have refused their pessimism because I know what a new road means to a farmer who has for decades been unable to get their produce quickly to the market. I refuse to delay the dream of world-class ports and fishing support infrastructure because we wanted our fishermen in our oceans and lakes to be able to gain more from their sweat of their brow. I looked at a nation whose potential was being limited by road connectivity and vowed to open up Kenya to ourselves and also to the world. The result has been that once sleepy villages and towns across our country have roared to life and become vibrant centers for economic and social activity. The result was the appreciation in the value and utility of land in many rural and peri-urban areas, instantly elevating many thousands of homes out of poverty. Similarly, fellow Kenyans, we have learned, and that is why we say we must learn from our history, is that when the British built the Kenya-Uganda Railway, some people called it the railway to nowhere, passing through a swamp called Nairobi. But to the colonizers, the railway was not the end game. What the railway was meant to achieve was the end game. Years later, what started off being called the Lunatic Express by cynics converted a swamp called Nairobi into a megacity that is today one of the top 5 cities on the African continent. It opened up an entire hinterland running from Mombasa on the Indian Ocean to Banana on the Atlantic Ocean in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The railway had transformed the East African landscape, opening up new frontiers of trade, commerce, and urbanization. This demonstrates that infrastructure has a way of turning swamps into cities, dead spaces into high-value property, village shopping centers into huge city malls. Without infrastructure, there is no way of finding new possibilities. And that is why we made it one of our big push investments. When my administration took over the helm of leadership, we knew we had only a maximum of 2 terms to accomplish a very ambitious agenda. And the challenge was that the bar set by my predecessor, the late President Mwai Kibaki, was a high one. To face this challenge, we had to first embrace what previous administrations had done and accelerate their achievements. That was part of the big push. Today, I am proud to record that if the 3rd Kenyan administration built 2,000 kilometers of tarmac road, we accelerated this achievement by building over 11,000 kilometers, which is close to 6 times what they built. In fact, truth be said, we have built more roads in 9 years than what all previous administrations combined, including the British, built in 123 years. Wapende wasipende, hiyo ndio ukweli wa mambo. If this nation's 3rd administration had set the bar higher, we have set the bar even higher. And the record is there for all to see. Across all 8 former provinces, in each of the 47 counties, we have transformed our country 1 kilometer at a time. Our world-class infrastructure, from elevated expressways to floating bridges, have put Kenya on the global map. And as a result, we have distinguished ourselves as an investment destination of choice, a regional and continental hub, and a leader on the African continent. With the mandate you gave me, fellow Kenyans, we also transformed the way government services reach you. We did this through the introduction of Huduma centers, an online platform such as eCitizen, to make access to public services a fast and pleasant experience and not a toil that every citizen must endure so as to obtain basic services. Jamani, nipatie maji bwana. In 2012, who would have believed that passport applications, birth certificates, marriages and business registration, driver's licenses, and so many others could be done online from anywhere in the world? My administration has also supported similar advancement in the independent arms of government, resulting in a situation where Kenyans now file and serve documents for their court cases online, and the era of the notorious missing court file has been firmly put behind us. It is in the life of this administration that a business can be registered online and a certificate issued on the same day, together with the KRA PIN and other statutory registrations. We did it because we know that it is our duty to facilitate your enjoyment of your social economic rights without unnecessary and cumbersome barriers. In the past, all land matters in Kenya were handled using a manual registry, and this made the Ministry of Lands a total den of corruption. In fact, part of the Wilson Airport runway to my left here had a title deed registered in the name of a private individual. But as part of the reforms in the land registry, the process of stamping out fake title deeds and reversing this fraud has been accelerated. It took previously a minimum of 6 months to do a single land transaction. This has now been reduced to 48 hours using a system called Ardhi Sasa, and similarly, instead of taking 1 to 3 months to do a land search, this system will give you a land search result in 3 to 5 minutes. Thanks to the brigadier. Huyo mama mmeona hapa, msicheze na yeye, amefanya kazi mingi sana. Wale ambao hawapigi kelele ndio wanabadilisha Kenya. With the mandate you gave me, we have set a high bar for how and where government services should be provided. Never again will Kenyans accept that they must contend with long winding queues, pay the infamous and notorious facilitation fee to receive their rights, or to travel long distances to the nearest major town to receive even the most basic of public services. As the administration that assumed office on the signature pledge of being a digital government, the revolution that is the delivery of services online, coupled with the concept of Huduma centers, which we implemented, have changed the way Kenyans do business. In doing so, it has also created opportunities for Kenyans in the private sector and built an enabling environment for an ICT versatile society. It is in the tenor of this administration that we successfully transitioned from analog to digital television and radio, resulting in the country being home to 130 TV stations, up from 14 in 2013. 204 radio stations, up from 130 in 2013. These impressive figures do not lie, and this does not factor the massive expansion of the digital space that has seen many hundreds of thousands of Kenyans successfully monetize various digital communication avenues. Ndio unaona wengine wananitukana kila siku, ni sawa tu, waendelee. Ni haki yao. Besides jobs, through our expansion of the digital space, the government has enabled small and medium enterprises, regional, community, and church-based broadcasters throughout the country to create niche routes for direct engagement. The dividends of the investments in our undersea cable are also manifest. To fully seize the opportunities offered in this information age, our massive ICT investment has seen internet penetration in Kenya rise from 31.4% in 2013 to 93.9% in 2022, with cellular phone penetration increasing from 74.9% to over 131% in the last reported cycle. Indeed, fellow Kenyans, over the same period of time, money transfers have increased from 1.9 trillion shillings a year to 6.8 trillion shillings every year. Further, online jobs, not just here in Kenya, but globally, have secured close to 1 million jobs for Kenyans, while innovators continue to make waves globally from their very locations here in Kenya. So fellows and Kenyans, as we prepare to hand over the baton to the fifth administration, there are three critical areas that I believe a new administration should focus on, but mine are just suggestions. Mi naenda. Firstly, you cannot do the big push investments in dams, roads, and rail in an environment of corruption. I say so because we cannot lie, the devil of corruption is still alive and well here in Kenya. For the next administration to multiply our dividend and continue raising the bar, it must work from the inside out. It must not backslide on the corruption agenda. When corruption festers in government, you cannot fight it from the court of public opinion. You must fight it from the inside out. And that is why leaders elected must have the credentials and the will to continue this cleanup. Secondly, you cannot implement big push investments in an environment of political strife and hypocrisy. Many have doubted whether my government has achieved in the second term. But let me tell you, we have. And the record must reflect that this is true of all sectors. To name but one, during our first term, we built slightly over 3,000 kilometers of tarmac road. But the second term, we have completed close to 8,000 kilometers and over 6,600 kilometers of tarmac road are currently ongoing. And all of this, I strongly believe, has happened because of the political stability that we achieved because of the handshake. Three, big push investments are bold investments, and they call for surgical and sometimes ruthless execution. Such undertakings cannot be fed on the milk of meekness. They need an attitude that shows the contempt card to those who dwell in negativity and naysaying. For instance, many have told you that the expressway that snakes through the heart of Nairobi, our pessimists said that it is impossible. Yet we have done it. And if we had said then that we would do it without a single coin from the taxpayer, except that which was used for the relocation of utilities, including electricity, water, fiber optic cables, many would have said we were dreaming, but we did it. Today, the Nairobi Expressway snakes through the skylines of Nairobi as a wonder. Under normal circumstances, it would have taken us 4 years to build it. But because we were determined to complete it, we have achieved it in a year and a half. Because we believed in Kenya, we believed in our people, and we believed in ourselves as a government. As an affirmation of the confidence we enjoy from foreign investors, we built the first expressway in Africa. This first expressway, the first in Africa, using private foreign capital. Indeed, we did this at half the time and at no project cost to the taxpayer. It is also notable that we were able to build it to international standards. With this signature project, we have opened up new possibilities for our own private sector investments, including equity and pension funds, to invest in public infrastructure and make decent returns. So fellow Kenyans, allow me to turn to my second legacy frame of economic acceleration. And for this, I mean multiplying the economic foundations of our nation at a rate that is outside the normal. The first limb will address how we are faring on production, and the second limb will respond to a question by many why we had to borrow in order to accelerate our fundamentals. Since 2013, we have used your mandate to ring-fence and grow our traditional exports of tea, coffee, and horticulture. Across the country, coffee rates for 2022 are out, and we have nearly doubled our earnings made by the coffee farmer, from an average of Kenya shillings 60 per kilogram of cherry in 2013 to Kenya shillings 110 to 125 per kilogram today. Tea earnings from exports rose by 20%, from Kenya shillings 114 billion in 2013 to 136 billion in 2021. In 9 years, over Kenya shillings 454 billion have been paid to our smallholder tea farmers. In addition, ladies and gentlemen, in addition to our traditional export crops, we have stayed ahead of the curve by supporting the emerging crops that will bolster our agriculture and horticultural earnings for decades to come. Just to mention one, the avocado, which is on course to become a top export earner. In the last year alone, we earned 15 billion shillings from avocado exports compared to 1 billion shillings in 2013. My administration has leveraged on improved diplomatic stances between Kenya and leading importers of the crop to negotiate preferential access for Kenyan avocado products. Another plank of this strategy was for employment creation is anchored on the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya policy. With this singular intervention, the supply of uniforms for our security organs, including footwear, have transformed our textile and leather industries and unleashed thousands of new jobs for our young people, in addition to the immeasurable pride in having the magical tag of Made in Kenya affixed to these items. To encourage leading motor vehicle brands to set up shop in Kenya and to restore our existing assembly lines, the procurement framework for motor vehicles by government and other security organs, we enhance preference to locally assembled vehicles. With this policy shift alone, a moribund industry of vehicle assembly that was once moribund and dead is once again alive. With the mandate that you gave us, the voice of women, youth, and persons with disabilities that was once muted is now at the center of a growing Kenyan enterprise. Through AGPO, a staggering 169.6 billion has been pushed through these historically marginalized groups. So fellow Kenyans, to address my second limb, why borrow? We must also first look at how other nations have prospered. It took England 200 years to industrialize. The United States of America, 160 years. Japan, 110 years. But China took only 35 years. And the four Asian tigers of Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, and South Korea took 25 years to industrialize. And that is why the accelerated growth was called the Asian miracle. The secret to these miracles, ladies and gentlemen, was acceleration. They contracted their development timelines by implementing aggressive interventions and through policy choices that added their acceleration. In just one generation, they were at par with the Western world. The Afro-pessimists who are constantly out there bombarding us with nonsense will tell you that Kenya cannot replicate this miracle. But I want to assure you, they are wrong and we are right. Our accelerated path to economic growth has begun and must be maintained into the future. In just 9 years, we have moved from being the 12th largest economy on the African continent to the 6th largest economy, and we are still growing. In the same time, we have tripled the wealth of our nation from a GDP of 4.5 trillion in 2013 to close to 13 trillion today. As a mark of this remarkable growth, our tax revenues have doubled from Kenya shillings 800 billion in the financial year 2012-2013 to Kenya shillings 1.6 trillion as at April 2022. With the mandate you gave us, ladies and gentlemen, we are on a course to achieve the record-shattering projection of Kenya shillings 2 trillion in collections by the end of the current financial year. Fellow Kenyans, we have grown our road network almost 6 times, our power generation 40 times, connected more homes to electricity than any other country on the African continent. And we have done this in just 9 years. I do believe that the next administration can multiply these efforts to unprecedented heights. But to keep this acceleration, that 5th administration must borrow 2 lessons. One is that it is not possible to maintain the speed of our achievements in a contaminated environment. And this allows me to go back to the corruption cleanup that I started talking about. When we took over in 2013, we had some state corporations that were rotten from the core. We had to drain this swamp from inside out. But we had to balance this cleanup exercise with accelerated performance. Some have accused me of militarizing our country. I have no such intention. Kenya is a democracy and it shall always remain a democracy. But I did not hesitate and will not hesitate to use our discipline services to correct and to do that which others have failed to do. We turn to our disciplined forces and we summon them to the cause of nation building. And the record must reflect that they have not disappointed us. When we gave them the Kenya Meat Commission to manage, they turned it into a profit-making enterprise within a year. The other institution worth of mention is the Kenya Shipyard Limited. This institution had collapsed due to mismanagement and corruption. Then last year, we handed it over to the disciplined forces. Today, this corporation is poised to have the largest shipyard in sub-Saharan Africa. This, ladies and gentlemen, is evidence that in an environment that is not contaminated, things can be done. If we could build this park and the museum behind us using the disciplined forces in only 22 months, instead of the 10 years it would normally have taken, if we have begun restoring the glory of Nairobi using the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, I do believe it can be done. The second lesson that will keep our accelerated achievements afloat has to do with debt. And on this, I want to pose a national question. How much is too much borrowing? When does borrowing become too much and unbearable to a nation? The only time debt is a burden to a nation is if a nation is led by looters. But in the hands of a visionary administration, debt is a catalyst for rapid development. And I will give but one example. When South Korea achieved her economic miracle in a record 25 years, it also achieved the rank of being the fourth most indebted nation in the world. But the South Koreans did not call it debt. They called it using other people's money to advance their cause. What this means is that nations that have advanced have not necessarily used their own money, especially when they are not endowed with natural resources. They have borrowed from others to catch up and to become world economic leaders. And the national question, therefore, to us today is not whether debt is good or bad. The more legitimate question has to do with what the next administration will do with borrowed funds. Will they end up in the private pockets, or will they be used to accelerate economic advancement? On my part, I believe we have used other people's money to close our infrastructure gap, to connect our markets. For example, when a maize trader in Kitale previously would take 3 days from Kitale to the border with South Sudan, with what we have borrowed and the roads we have built, we have ensured that that man from Kitale can be at the border of South Sudan in just 5 hours, not 3 days. Similarly today, any trader can travel on a tarmac road to 4 out of 5 of our neighboring countries and do so in record time. If we can transport 10 times more passengers with the SGR at half the price and at half the time, and move 3 times more cargo daily from Mombasa to our neighbors, then our borrowing has surely been worthwhile and paid tangible dividends. So to maintain the tempo of increased and accelerated achievement, the next administration should not shy away from using other people's money. Debt in a cleaned-up government is an enabler, not a burden. With the mandate that you have given us, the people summoned us to secure sustainable development and to foster intergenerational equity, and we honor this solemn duty. We honor Now, sorry, let me go back. So fellow Kenyans, with the mandate that you've given us, we also move to secure sustainable development and to foster intergenerational equity. We honored this solemn duty by restoring our water towers, protecting our environment through pollution control. We have conserved wetlands and firmly established Kenya as a global leader in the area of sustainable development. Our conservation efforts have fortified our biodiversity, and as a result, we have recorded the lowest levels of poaching in our nation's history. On account of this robust ecosystem, we have registered the highest wildlife population for a majority of those species that were previously endangered. We did this so that every Kenyan can enjoy their right to a clean, healthy environment, and so that our heritage of splendor can be passed down from one generation to another unencumbered. We have planted 1.34 billion trees, moving our forest cover from 6.99% in 2013 to 8.83% in 2022, and our tree cover to 12.3%, well over the 10% envisioned in our Constitution, and 8 years ahead of the target date that was set of 2030. To halt the destruction of water towers, an elusive dream that has eluded every other administration, we contain the encroachment and illegal extraction activities in the water tower resources of the Masai Mara Forest Complex. We have also banned the use of polythene bags and saved marine and terrestrial life. We have moved also with the beautification of our urban areas, especially here in Nairobi. And this initiative has led to the emergence of our nation as a leader in climate change action and established a thriving green economy. We have also moved in the water sector by building dams, including Thiba Dam, Yamo Dam in Samburu, and are on course to complete while starting others such as Thwake Dam, Mwache Dam at the coast, Karimeno Dam here in Kiambu, Sioi Murunye Road Dam in West Pokot, Bute Dam in Wajir, and Soin Koru Dam in Nyanza. In total, we are currently implementing some 685 water and sanitation projects. And if we conclude these, which we hope will be concluded by the end of this year, at least 80% of Kenyan households will have access to water and 40% to sanitation. Today, we have 13 million Kenyans connected to clean water. Our irrigation has doubled from 374,000 acres to 664 acres currently. From independence, we had only produced 5 million title deeds. Today, we have added an additional 6 million title deeds, bringing our national aggregate to 11 million. We have also heralded the enactment of the land index laws, which should put a stop to the blight that is occasioned by bloated valuation figures in the process of compulsory land acquisition, thereby making it easier for us to complete public projects. We have also moved towards the restoration of dignity and political stabilization. And as we look forward to the August 9th general elections, we must ask ourselves, what is the purpose of an election? Let me pose this question more pointedly by using two examples. When we choose the legacy framework of restoration of dignity, we want to reduce the burden of dignity to our people, and this is why we have targeted health. Universal health coverage, which is something that we are very keen and have been keen on, has seen a growth of more than 17.1 million Kenyans insured under NHIF compared to 4.4 million. These are the things that Kenyans want to see continue. We have constructed an additional 1,912 healthcare facilities in conjunction with county governments. across all levels of healthcare. Today, we have a new level 6 hospital, the Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, that supports all these other ones. In the same period, we have increased our ICU capacity from 108 to 651 ICU-ready beds. Similarly, our hospital bed capacity has gone up from 56,000 to 82,000. In Nairobi alone, we have built 29 new hospitals in our informal settlements, which has changed the way healthcare is administered in our informal settlements. And we have opened a new level 5 hospital in Korogosho, one of those informal settlements. And although we have increased affordable access to healthcare, we have not yet done all we can, and there is still more to be done. We need, hii sasa imekuwa ndefu. So ladies and gentlemen, let me try and conclude. While we have had the longest and most consequential period of transformation in our nation's history, it does not mean that the work of nation building is complete or that we are free from want as a country. Recurring waves of drought continue to subject some of our brothers and sisters across our country to hunger. It is hard to tell whether the long rains that we expected in April will commence properly or not, or whether we shall have another year, a fourth year of consecutive drought. And even as we contend with these effects, we are also facing challenges rising from other areas that no other generation has faced in over a century. A health pandemic that has caused untold suffering, robbing us thousands of our fellow compatriots, and in its wake, rendering millions jobless. Global tensions today are threatening global food supply and fuel supply chains, causing untold disruptions in transport and logistics, causing skyrocketing prices of basic commodities, food items, leading to higher costs of living and turbulence in international finances, issues that will continue to require attention and vigilance. We are also still faced with security challenges in parts of our country, including Kerio Valley, parts of Marsabit, parts of Laikipia, where bandits cannot even spare our children, robbing us our future. And unemployment is still a major challenge, dampening the spirits of our youth and also disheartening their parents. Equally important to highlight is the threat also to our traditional values and the family as the basic unit of our society. The evolving face of the Kenyan family is characterized in the 2019 national census, where families headed by single parents rose from 25.1% in 2009 to 38.2%. If unchecked, this trend shall destroy the fundamental character of Kenya and reap untold harm onto our most vulnerable and precious members, our children. So I urge all of us, including our religious leaders, our community leaders, and all concerned government agencies, to step up to the plate and make sure that the Kenyan family remains the strong and respected institution that it has historically been. So fellow Kenyans, my message to the nation today is that whereas we are claiming progress, we do not claim perfection. Yes, we have made commendable progress on the socio-economic front, but we cannot claim to have reached the pinnacle of our nation's potential. There is much more to be done to move our nation to the next level of development. The fourth administration that I have had the privilege to lead together with my colleagues has laid the foundation upon which the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh, and all future administrations can build. However, To achieve the shared aspirations of our people, successive administrations are called upon to foster national unity, and this is the single greatest enabler for sustainable development and shared prosperity for all. Our first collective national duty, therefore, in this forthcoming elections, general elections, on the 9th of August 2022, is to choose peace and stability over fear, hope over hate, and progress over retrogression. On this solemn occasion, we also reflect on the plight of our brothers and sisters who have run into headwinds with the law and are currently serving custodial sentences in our correctional facilities. Indeed, in response to various petitions from actors with the justice and legal sector, and in line with our commitment to restorative justice and reintegration of offenders, on the recommendation of the Power of Mercy Advisory Committee, I have on this day exercised the presidential prerogative of pardon and granted a second chance to some 3,908 inmates. To those that have been pardoned, mine to you is that you should now be change makers in our society and restore faith and confidence in our criminal justice system. Reciprocate the generosity that has been shown by your motherland through this act of mercy with a high sense of civic duty and service to your country. Fellow Kenyans, ladies and gentlemen, kwa hayo mengi, with the eternal flame that we lit yesterday on the eve of Madaraka Day, and the first Madaraka Day held on these grounds, let us all commit ourselves to fanning the flames of freedom, democracy, prosperity, unity, integrity, and most importantly, peace, and our combined, collective, unceasing commitment to Project Kenya. May God bless you, and may God bless Kenya. Asanteni sana.
Kwa heshima naomba sote tusimame kwa wimbo wa taifa. Asanteni sana. Ningeomba tuweze kutulia popote tulipo, wananchi wazalendo. Nikiitisha hivi sasa magari ya Mheshimiwa Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya pamoja na magari ya Mheshimiwa Rais Jamhuri ya Sierra Leone. Kisha baadaye je wajua iweze kuendelea, na hapo hapo nikiitisha magari ya mkuu wa majeshi ya ulinzi pamoja na service commanders. Tutulie tafadhali.
Wajua kuwa tangu tujinyakulia uhuru hadi mwaka wa 2013